But one thing that I noticed on live was happening was people would come and the things that they would say, like, oh, sali gatti, eta randi hai, eta eh, they would just claim things about me that they didn't know. So I was like, if they're jumping from live to live, if they're going on every woman's live that they can find and doing this kind of thing, it has to kind of be confronted. Assault or harassment on women, crimes against women is not a path that you walk. It's a staircase that you climb. When you don't stop the person on the first step, they will climb to the second step. And it just keeps on getting worse and worse. One of the things that I loved doing when I became recognizable on the internet is that I would love to go live. I didn't want it to be me on top and people just watching. I wanted to be more their stories, my stories. And I know a lot of the people that follow me, like we have conversations. So that's what I wanted it to be through my lives. And also I'm super funny. So that's why lives is like my own open mic. But one thing that I noticed on live was happening was people would come and the things that they would say, like, oh, sali gatti, eta randi hai, eta eh, they would just claim things about me that they didn't know. But it felt like it wasn't coming from a place of genuine hate or anything. Because to genuinely hate somebody, like, you really have to know them. And they didn't know me at all. So I was like, where is this coming from? And it kind of felt like it was just something they threw around. So I was like, if they're jumping from live to live, if they're going on every woman's live that they can find and doing this kind of thing, it has to kind of be confronted. Or at some point, somebody has to, stop them, shake their hand and be like, do you need anything? Is there, like, this attention that you're seeking is not always bad. I've been called an attention seeker, and I have seeked attention when I needed it. So I was like, is this a call for help? But when you start thinking of it this way, they get offended. I took a screenshot once. Somebody said, Sali, I took a screenshot. I pinned it. I usually pin the comment because I want everyone to see. I want everyone to see that this is what happens. Because a lot of the times people will say to me, I never knew this happened. I'm like, because they're so ashamed, women hide it. Women hide the abuse they get because they're so ashamed. I will not hide it because I'm not doing anything. I'm not the one abusing anyone. Sometimes they say you play a victim mentality. I am a victim. I am 100% a victim of really bad things. Like this could really hurt someone, and it does. So I will not hide being a victim because it doesn't fit your narrative. I went to his account. Everything was public. His friends were there. He literally had a photo of the car he drives. You can tell, like this is information you can find, by the way. You don't have to be a tech at it, okay? When you're in Punjab, it says PB01, 02. Basically, you can find out where he's from. You take that, you message his friends, and you say, hey, I need his address. I know where he lives, and he's just harassed me. They get scared in that. You need to start realizing you're the one with the power. This is power. To confront them is power. This is me picking my battle. I was like, this kid will not get away with it. The funniest thing was he was wearing a pug in his photo. And when he said Sali, the first thing I always say is, how can you say that with a pug? Like, you've chosen to wear a pug. You've chosen to be a man of God. And then you say this. He literally came back. He changed his profile and he came back. This happens all the time. So anyway, I messaged his friends and I'm like, hey, like, this is what's happened. This is the screenshot. I was like, the police is already asking for his address. Like, you need to give it to me or I'll find it. In that, they get scared. One person gave me his number. That is him stopping him at that staircase. It seems harsh, but that staircase is much worse. If you don't stop it here, he will have to deal with much worse consequences. So even though you guys hate me for being this feminazi, I am genuinely saving your kids from a lot of time in jail, okay? But that person, the one that gave me his number, he actually ended up talking to that guy's father. So he spoke to that kid's father and he told me, he was like, he's in a lot of trouble and he's getting a thrashing. And I was like, oh my God. So I'll tell you about something that happened. This one particular guy, he comes onto my live and he's just like, sex, sex, sex. That's all he says. Now, me as someone that knows how sex works, what sexual liberation is, what consent is, all of these things, the word sex, sex, sex 3 times does not faze. It does not shock me. There's no shock value in what he was saying. So I was like, hey, like, do you want to come live? And I invited him to come live because that's all he kept saying. And I was like, this is a real human being, by the way. This is not a bot. Like, this is a real human adult who's sitting there and he's like typing this out and then sending it. You really have to get in his headspace and think, where is this coming from? And so I invited him live. He declined it the first time and he didn't say anything. And I was like, hey, like, the world is watching right now. All of these people, 1,000 people are watching you. So you can come live and broadcast your need for sex or whatever it is. Anyway, he comes live and the camera is just like facing a wall. So he's obviously holding the phone and now you're really in his headspace. So the camera is just facing the wall. You know, the paint is chipping off. It's dark and he's not saying much. And then I reach out to him and I'm like, hey, like, hello? And he's just like, sex karne. So I'm like, karo. You know, I just kind of say to him, then do it. Like, do you need somebody? Do you not have anybody in your life? But when you start saying these things, they run out of things to say. He said nothing the rest of the live. All we saw, like the 1,000 people and me, was just the wall. And you can kind of see, like, maybe he's not even in a great place in life or at his home, or then you have to start giving it a face. You have to start giving this harassment a face. A lot of the times women get scared or they get subdued or submissive because it doesn't have a face. It comes from places we haven't seen. It comes from people we don't know. When I first started getting these messages, I'd get shocked and I'd think, oh my God, what have I done to deserve this? Nothing. It's got nothing to do with me. That person, I don't even know if he was completely stable in his life, if he knew what he was doing, we don't know. But to take that onto myself would be a shame. So as in when they take out their frustration to want to have sex, or me being a because of how loud and bold I am, that's their problem, not mine. So when I first became public on the internet, as in only at the age of 18, I kind of wanted to dress up, look nice, and interact with people online. That's kind of when it started. Before that, I had a private profile with like 15 followers. Like, I was not out there. And when I started on TikTok, now I went into it because I live in Australia, but I really like Punjabi music. So I went into it with that kind of frame set. I was like, great, I can dance to Punjabi songs, I can dress up the way I do, and it'll be fun. Now, with that fun came a really in-depth understanding of the word. Never heard it before, didn't know what it was. When I first started getting those comments, I went to my mom and I was like, what does this mean? If the comments were really good, she'd read them out loud. But if they were bad and they included like the words and stuff, she'd like go quiet and she'd stop reading it. And I felt really bad. I was like, I don't want my mom to have to read these to me, so I have to start reading them on my own. So the word is a very scary word to some. To me, what I was told was it means prostitute. Some people think it means different things, but the main thing is they're calling you a prostitute. So when I started getting the word, my first question that I've never asked is, don't they make a lot of money? I was like, isn't like a reputable occupation? Like, when people say sali, I live in Australia, like, that's fine, you know? If you want to insult me by using an occupation, I would rather you call me like Sali Prime Minister or Sali politician or something, you know? Because I respect prostitutes. For me, it was really weird that I was being called a prostitute. It was something I didn't understand. I'm like, how is this an issue? So receiving those comments was not as a big deal as when I went live and I got Sali. Because then you're interacting. Then I genuinely ask. I was like, what's wrong with it? I was like, and what? I never received an answer. From the people calling me a they could never explain what's wrong with it. I just never got a response back. It was just me screaming into the void, why is it wrong to be a even if I am? Which I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just calling you things because that's what they've either been taught to do or never stopped from doing. One of the things that people don't understand is why I create such a fuss on this online harassment and this constant harassment as well. They're just saying it, is that assault or harassment on women, crimes against women is not a path that you walk. It's a staircase that you climb. When you don't stop the person on the first step, they will climb to the second step. And it just keeps on getting worse and worse. A lot of times I hear when we talk about Eve teasing, or he was looking at her that way, dekh hi raha siga, kuch kita ta nahi. Are we going to wait for him to do something? That's how it starts. No child is born wanting to hurt somebody. That's not where they're at in their head. They climb those stairs and you need to stop them. You would actually be doing them a big favor by stopping them. What I hear is, sade mundiya di reputation, the reputation of men, that women are basically ruining the reputation of men. I think it's their families that are ruining their reputation. I think it's the Indian society. When we talk about specifically India, I think it's their society that is genuinely ruining the reputation of men and how we see men. If you love your sons, you would teach them better. If you want them to have a reputable standing in society, you would teach them better. You know, the whole thing, people get so angry. Oh, not all men, not all men. It's actually not me that believes all men. I want to have male friends. I like dating. I like boys. It's you that pushes this idea of all men when women aren't allowed to have male friends. When you're not allowed to go somewhere because men will be there. You're the one saying all men. You're the one that has set up this idea of if I wear something, it will be dangerous because of what? Because just all men, just men in general are in danger. Then you need to change that idea. It's more of a trend than anything else to say we respect women because that's what we're talking about right now. But somebody really needs to go like, there are times when people will come up to take photos with me and I'll be like, actually, this is not the place. And they'll be like, no, just one. And I'll be like, this is not the place. No, I don't want to take a photo. Because now I'm trying to exercise this thing that they've been saying. I'm trying to exercise the we respect women. They're just so focused on the camera, they're not even listening to me. They'll just be like, yeah, just one. And they'll take a bunch of photos. I've had to grab their phones from their hands and be like, you said you respect women. You said you're a fan. You said that you listen to me. You're not listening. I was like, this is exactly what I need you to not do. This is respecting women. I need you to respect just any human being. I need you to just respect what I've said. So it becomes a problem when they don't know what it means. What happens in our society a lot, in our culture specifically, is that undekha kar dende ne, unsuna kar dende ne. They know things are happening around them. You know, they know this is how their daughters and sons are being treated. They know what happens online. Undekha kar dende ne, jiਵੇਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ. I guess it's because it's harder to admit that this is how we're treating our daughters than to just say it's not happening. So my only request or demand really is that if you love your children, your daughters and your sons, you need to make sure that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ. And I know it's hard, but as I said, it's going to get much worse if they climb that staircase.